We've got to stop playing this song wrong.
Don't stop believing. Hold on to that feeling.
Like, seriously guys, we as a drumming community need to commit to playing the parts better for Don't Stop Believing by Journey. Steve Smith, he created an incredible series of drum parts for this. It starts off as a simpler drum part.
As I was just keeping sort of a steady beat going, I'd be trying to figure out, you know, clever ways of making it more interesting.
And goes into a more complex drum part. It's open-handed, so it's just killer. And we just get it wrong all the time. I mean, this is the #1 song I see played incorrectly at almost every cover gig I go to. It's played incorrectly. The groove starts as a simpler groove and slowly progresses. The way Steve built it was just ingenious. He keeps the backbeat going, he keeps it steady and grooving, and yet he's doing all this great stuff with the bell of the ride cymbal and the toms. And what we do is we just hear like, oh, he's doing some tom things, and we just put random toms in there. I used to play this song wrong until I really sat down and was like, what is Steve doing? So let's make a promise to each other, you to me, as a community. Let's learn this song and let's play it right for Steve Smith's sake, because God, such a good part. This whole lesson's gonna break down this song. We'll go real slow through the different parts. The sheet music's included too. You can look in the video description, you can snag that. All right, so let's get down to dissecting this song, and this is really, like, Steve Smith really did a great job constructing a part that stays with a solid 2 and 4 backbeat, 4 on the floor, but he does some really interesting stuff, and he plays it open-handed, which just opens up so many options on the drum set. So let's check this out. Now, the drums lay out at the beginning, okay? So they're laying out. By the way, if you're learning a Journey song for a cover band, this would be the first one I would learn. This would be the one that I would add to the list first before I added any of their other stuff. So that being said, there's a piano intro, and then we have a guitar build up, and there's these 2 big hits. Well, those 2 big hits, just so you know where they happen, they go 1, 2, 3, 4, and that's where they're gonna hit. And then we're out for 6 more measures. And then in that 2 measures before we come in, we start on the and of 2, and we start a build. So it's gonna go 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. That's gonna be our build, okay? So that's kind of how we get into the song. You can check the sheet music out and see exactly how that lays out. If you want the sheet music, please go to the video description. You can find it there, the download. So let's get into this groove. Now, the essence of this groove, the basic building block of this groove is it's 2 and 4. It's just a basic beat. So it's essentially what he did was he took that beat and kind of started messing with it to see what he could come up with while still keeping the essence of that groove, keeping the momentum going in a rock type setting. And so the first iteration of that is we're going to be playing left hand here, 8th notes. We're going to be playing 2 and 4 here on the snare drum, 4 on the floor, right? So what's going to be different? Well, in the first measure, this is a 2-bar loop. So in the first measure, we're going to play 4 on the floor tom. This involves 3 toms. So let's say it's a my floor tom, but on the second tom, okay? So the first measure is going to go 1, 2, 3, 4. Now, this first iteration is not hard. It gets harder as you go through it until it's a complex 4-measure groove that's looping around with ride cymbal and all this stuff. So the second measure here in this first iteration is going to be, again, we're looking towards the end of the second measure. It's going to be on the upbeat of 3 that we play the high tom, and the upbeat of 4 that we play our floor tom. So toms 1 and toms 3. And that's going to go 1, 2, 3, and 4, and.
Now let me play those two bars together so you can hear what they sound like, slow and then a little bit quicker. All right, that's the groove for the first chorus. Whenever we all come in, that Don't Stop Believing. That's going to be the first groove we land into. And then we have these two measures of hits. Okay, so let's go over what those hits are. So 2 measures before the interlude into the next verse. We're going to have this. It's going to go 1 and 2 and 3, 4. 1, 2, and. That's going to be our count. So 3, 4. And then you're back into the song, okay? That's gonna be the hits there. You can check the sheet music out, and that's all written out for you. Now, at the interlude, he changes this groove again, all right? So we start to morph the groove, and that's where we start adding the ride cymbal bell. So the first measure stays the same, except on the and of 3, we have the bell of a ride cymbal. So it's gonna go 1, 2, 3, and 4. Now, even though we're putting these other elements in there, you can see that the groove and the drive is staying the same with that 2 and 4, that 4 on the floor, it's staying the same. So we're keeping that kind of the quality of the beat and that driving rock sound. Now let's go to the next one. We're gonna have 2 on the snare in the next measure, and then we're gonna put a bell of the ride cymbal on the downbeat of 3 and play the tom pattern, tom 1 on the upbeat of 3, tom 2 on the upbeat of 4. All right, so let me put both of those measures together, play them for you around 80 BPM, then I'm gonna pick it up and I'm gonna play it at the tempo of the song, which is 118 BPM. All right, we're moving along in this song. That takes us up until this next chorus. And at the next chorus, so the first chorus, when we come in, we have the first iteration of the groove, then we have the hits, and then we go into the second iteration of the groove for the interlude and verse 2, and then we go into the next chorus, and that's the third iteration of the groove. The only thing we're changing is we're adding 1 and on the ride cymbal bell on the second measure. So that second measure now sounds like this. That's the third iteration. So let's put those 2 measures together again, slow at 80 BPM. I'll show you what that sounds like, and then I'll play it at tempo at 118 BPM, show you what that sounds like. All right, here's where it starts to get hairy. We have those hits again right after that chorus, and we're going to go into the solo. So those hits again, 2 measures before the solo, is going to go 1 and 2 and 3, 4. 1, 2, and when I'm playing it live, a lot of times I'll take and do drum fills there just to kind of keep the band steady, but you cannot put fills there. That's how the original recording is. So on the solo, we have the final iteration of this beat, okay? And that final iteration is going to be 4 measures long, and we're going to change some things up just a little bit. So the first measure stays the same. We're still going to play it like this. Now that first measure, since it's a 4-bar loop, every time he comes back around that 4-bar loop, he crashes. So the first measure will actually sound like this.
3, 4.
Now the second measure is where we have some changes. It's still going to be 1 and on the ride cymbal bell. We're still going to have 3 on the ride cymbal bell, but instead of the and of 3 on tom 1 and the and of 4 on tom 3, we're going to now have 3 on the ride cymbal bell, 4 on the snare, the and of 4 on the floor tom. So that's going to sound like this.
3, 4.
All right, progressing along, you're going to have a hard time remembering just the 4 measures in a row. That's the challenge with this song, is just remembering in real time that it's a 4-bar loop. Anything longer than 1 or 2 bars, we tend to start forgetting. But it's good. It's good for your working memory. And this is great for your open-handed playing. All right, so let's look at this third measure. The third measure changes up a little bit. We now have the upbeat of 1 on the ride cymbal bell, downbeat of 2 on the snare drum. Then we have the downbeat of 3 on the ride cymbal bell. And we're going to have the downbeat of 4 on the tom 2. So it's going to go
3, 4.
And then finally, the fourth measure, we're going to take that and we're going to play 1 and on the ride cymbal bell, 2 here on the snare, and then I love this next pattern. It's going to be 3 and on tom 1 of 3, 4 on the snare drum, and a 4 on the floor tom. Is this groove not ingenious? Guys, it's ingenious how much it keeps the music moving forward. I just love how he develops this as a theme throughout the whole song. You don't see this very often in rock type songs, especially ones that have gotten this big and popular as this one has. So that's going to be this. That's going to be the whole thing. Now, let me go ahead and put that 4-measure loop together. We're going to play that at 80 BPM. I'll show you how that sounds, and then I'll speed it up and play it at the song tempo at 118 BPM. 1, 2, 3, 4. And that's it. That's the song, Don't Stop Believin' by Journey, okay? And that is the proper order to play those grooves in. I've seen professionals, I've seen semi-professionals, I've seen just garage bands. They've all gotten it wrong. I've gotten it wrong. It really takes you looking in, and because it's not normal for someone to develop a part that long and that systematically throughout the song, okay? So it's 4 different iterations. You have the build at the top, you have those 2 hits at the top, and then you have the hits that come up twice in the middle of the song. The only thing I would add is that Steve Smith, I've seen some live videos of him. They're out touring and recently, and he has added, he stomps the hi-hat on the quarter notes, so that allows the hi-hat to open on the up beats. That's a natural byproduct of doing that, heel down. And so that looks like this. I like the original iteration of the groove. I don't necessarily like that one. It makes it a little bit muddy for my ears, but you can play it either way. Just know that he does play it a little bit differently live. So hopefully that will help you play this song correctly now. If this has helped you, hit that thumbs up button. Leave me a comment. I want to know, what's your favorite Journey song? What's your favorite, better yet, what's your favorite Steve Smith song? All right, as well, if you know another drummer that you think may dig this and it may help them, please share this with them. But no matter what you do, I'll see you here in the next video.